I am really protesting more against our government's hypocrisy rather than Mr. Trump himself. That is a matter for the American people.
Yeah. Donald Trump represents fear, hate, division, negativity.
And this is the naughty and nice list of Sustainer Claus.
Yeah.
Sustainer Claus is, of course, like a Santa Claus,
Yeah.
but he has a list. Who's naughty? Who's nice? Well, who's naughty?
Trump gorilla.
My politics are all over the place, but by and large, I think Trump is doing some good things.
The proof is actually me taking this.
Well, first reason, he's a good president, and second reason, you know, whether you like him or not, he's the president elected by our greatest ally, so we should respect that.
So I just got back from the Trump protest, and I want to kind of explain the sort of scenario I found myself in as I went there. So basically, the reason I'm wearing, you know, a nice shirt and stuff is because I had a job interview between 3 and 4, and the main Trump protests were in Trafalgar Square a lot earlier than that. So what happened is I went along and I actually found the protest moved to Westminster, and that is where, you know, everyone was speaking. I think there was a Labour politician called David Lammy having a speech, so I went there. So it was a lot smaller, and it was really raining as well. It was really pissing it down. So I got there at that time, so a lot of people had actually left. But what did happen is I saw some speeches and saw some cool stuff. I managed to interview a lot of people, from like Trump supporters to like people who are European citizens and stuff. So basically what this video is, hopefully, is a collaboration and a collection of all these interviews edited and then showing what the day was like. Maybe I will also narrate over the top of it just to explain what I was seeing. But overall, yeah, it was a pretty good day. Had some nice conversations. I even had an alright conversation with the Trump supporter, some other American people I spoke to, lots of passionate people there, and it was good to see. It's a real shame I couldn't get there for the main protest, but I hope you enjoy, you know, what I saw there. And it was good to see all these passionate people out and protesting Trump. I did question some of them. And one thing I want to make clear, what I sort of do in the interview sometimes, when someone makes a point, I might say yeah. That does not mean I agree with it. So, for example, when the Trump supporter was talking, he said a lot of stuff. I would just say yeah, to keep the conversation moving and acknowledge what he was saying. It doesn't mean I actually agree with it. If people start thinking when the Trump supporter says something that I seriously don't agree with and I think is ridiculous, I'm not saying, yeah, that's right. I'm just saying, yep, just keep it moving along. So that is just a little point. So anyway, I will also put all the interviews out as separate videos because some of them did go on for a long time and I'm not going to make a massive video for this one. So keep an eye on the channel and have a look where I interview everyone separately and you can really delve into what the conversation was like, and I hope you enjoy this video.
Donald Trump toilet paper, ladies and gentlemen, premium quality twin ply Donald Trump toilet paper.
You got to free throw them.
Sorry?
I've used mine already.
Used already.
Oh.
There we go, buddy.
Oh, this is the angry Trump.
Oh, you want angry?
Yeah, I think I want angry.
There you go. Thank you very much, mate. Have a great day. Donald Trump represents fear, hate, division, negativity. I travel around the UK spreading the message of peace, love and positive vibes and raising mental health awareness.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump's doing a good deed by being on toilet paper fundraising for me.
Well, we're from London.
You're from London, okay, so what's...
40 years in London, but German.
Oh, German, okay, so...
A real Londoner.
Yeah, so obviously the last couple of years haven't been great for you guys. So why have you come out here?
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years, yeah.
Why did we come here?
So what's brought you out for Trump specifically?
Why am I here?
Yeah.
Because of all this. There's so many reasons. First of all, it's not up to me to vote for Trump. I'm not an American.
Yeah.
I'm a European. Our parliament has asked me as a teacher to teach British values, which to my mind are also European or human values.
Yeah.
Things like respect, tolerance. now this very same parliament turns around and receives with full state honors a man who is, as I've written down on my placard, a racist. Just watch his policies towards, for example, Muslim people, megalomaniac, the way how he treats the world with regard to climate change as well, international treaties, climate change denial, warmongering. Look at his record in Iran, a narcissistic man, misogynistic as well.
Is there anything specific about Trump that, like, is it America in general, or is it just Trump?
I like America. I've had a few happy American customers, but the reason for this is it gets me out in the street talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's it's memorable, right? It gets me out in the street, make people laugh, and I'm raising awareness of serious issues as well. Mental health.
What are you advertising then? Mental health? Is it?
Yeah, 10 tips for positive mental well-being.
So there it's can I take this, or do you want it back?
You can keep it.
Okay.
So I am really protesting more against our government's hypocrisy rather than Mr. Trump himself. That is a matter for the American people.
Yeah.
But where it also affects us is with regard to climate change and warmongering, the safety, security of the world.
You've been here all day?
I came here about 11 o'clock.
How was it? Is it bigger earlier?
Yeah, then the rain kind of came and
ruined it.
I was up at Trafalgar Square and it was absolutely rammed.
Yeah, I really wanted to go.
And then the march came along the waterfront, came here, then the rain started.
Everyone frowned.
The truck drove through and people
Did he actually?
Stuff, yeah.
Oh wow.
And then people left when the rain came. But there's a few committed people.
Yeah.
And what also affects us and why the government is so keen to receive him is trade deals. Why are they so keen to suddenly talk with him about trade
So we
deals?
can get chlorinated chicken.
Not only that, because they are dead afraid with Brexit. That after Brexit they are standing there without any deal, and they are dead afraid that then they are out in the cold.
Yeah.
So they are running after anybody who promises them anything.
Find out that Donald Trump wants to impose Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage on this country, and we said no, stop, Donald Trump.
Too many people. Yeah, so here you have Sustainer Clause. And by the way, this is LCP, the low carbon panda, and Roger, the reality rooster.
Okay.
Okay, well, Roger's waking us up to the reality. But I was just saying, yes, you're asking about people like Trudeau and so on. I think there's generally a little bit of people are waking up, let's say, to beyond the image, beyond the Twitter feeds, beyond the the pretty boy.
Capitalism with a pretty face.
Yeah, the sort of that they're waking up from that, and I think it's global. And when people like Trudeau, and actually I know Trudeau. I mean, I used to rollerblade through Outremont. I went to Haute Études Commerciales, HEC, and he that was his riding. And also, he's a young guy, and I used to meet him every once in a while. He's a good guy as an individual, but the problem is power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And once you get up there, you're not in charge of your own agenda anymore.
Like Barack Obama on the campaign versus Barack Obama in 2017 when he left office. Completely different.
Exactly.
Republican light, essentially.
Because, it's a system. And so the deep state and all these other actual control mechanisms, you don't get to do what you want to do, even if you promised it to get in. So I think the same thing for Trudeau. I don't think he's a bad guy in his heart. He says the right things, but what does he do? He buys pipelines from the Americans and fawns them off. Not only the pipelines cost, but also, the pollution.
Exactly,
and the terrible impact.
And all the tar sands they're exploiting now. bad for the environment, great for the oil industry. One little question about the US. You got especially warmongering.
Yeah.
I got. How do you feel about the US in general? So obviously, some would say Trump is the ugly face of it, but he would represent a lot of what America really is. It's warmongering is nothing new to America, even Barack Obama. So, what do you think of our relationship with the US as a whole? Because obviously we're all here today protesting Trump. I doubt even 1% of people were here protesting Barack Obama. So what would you say? And other people like him, Bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, what would you say? Yeah.
Exactly. Trump and the US is not the only state that is warmongering.
Yeah.
But the US is the most powerful nation. It's one of the power blocks. And because Trump representing America is such a powerful nation, represents such a powerful nation, which also claims to have a very close relationship and link to Britain. That is why obviously we have more right and need and responsibility to protest against Trump and be aware what America is doing rather than other countries around the world which are just as warmongering but where we have much less relationship with, influence with and less to do with.
So what's the biggest crisis in the world right now?
Climate change.
Climate change. But is it the only crisis? Well, no. But they're all related. You know, hunger, poverty, education of women, all of this.
And climate change will only make it worse.
It's going to kill us all, right? If we don't change our ways, which includes the education, it includes clean water, clean energy, and all those kind of things. You know, in my old age, I'm starting to realize that it's not about capitalism, although it is actually about capitalism. It's about the fact that corporatism, or the corporations, are running the world. They're providing us all of our products, and we are buying them, right?
So you're an anarchist?
I'm an anarchist, yeah.
So what do anarchists believe in, like the short version?
There's no set anarchism. You know, we're all a little bit different. We've all got slightly different ideas. But
you're not an anarcho-communist?
There are anarcho-communists, anarcho-syndicalists.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the capitalist one is actually anarchist, but some people.
That is fake. Yeah, I was researching that the other day. It's fake, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's all different colours basically, and anarcho-environmentalism, eco-anarchism basically, and so like there's a different strand and a different kind of set within each one as well, you know.
So yes, I agree that these people who are coming into power, young women like AOC, you know, these people are a breath of fresh air. Yeah. You know, they're shaking up. It's like Greta, you know. So, but you know, people like this are sort of coming out of nowhere, but they're not really coming out of nowhere. They're coming out of the collective consciousness. Yeah. They're just reflecting what we believe. We are already preparing ourselves to understand.
Yeah. So basically, I believe that Trump is just an ugly face of what the America really is. I don't think any other president has been really that different. So would you share that sentiment as an anarchist? Would you believe Barack Obama essentially does the same things as Trump? It's just a nice face on that sort of, you know, imperialist capitalism.
I mean, there's a ruling class, and there's ruling class bureaucracy, and then there's a face of that bureaucracy a lot of the time. You know, sometimes it's a more liberal face, sometimes it's a more conservative face. Yeah. Sometimes it's a neo-fascist face, and I think that's basically what happens. Basically, you have that like changing face.
But it stays the same.
Ultimately, the bureaucracy has got interests.
Special interests.
The interests are like managed by different people in different ways.
So yeah, you're English and you support Trump. So why do you support Trump?
Well, first reason he's a good president, and second reason, you know, whether you like him or not, he's the president elected by our greatest ally. So we should respect that.
So what do you think that he didn't actually win the most votes? Hillary Clinton won more votes than him. He won based on the electoral college.
She's not president though, is she?
But because of their system. So do you not think...
It's their system, and they elected him in the way that they do it.
So why is he a good president?
Huh?
Why is he a good president?
Puts America first, which he should do.
And how does
at the moment they're booming.
He's not a good president, he's a great president.
Yeah.
Then how does he make him good?
Well, unemployment rates at the moment are at record lows. Minority unemployment rates are at record lows, you know. He's reformed prison. He's got prison reforms to let out people that have spent years and years in prison.
what's your opinion, just a quick one, or brief as you like, or as long as you like, about Brexit and the current political climate in the UK? Because this is obviously a Trump protest, but a lot of people here talking about Brexit, the European Union. So how do you feel about all that stuff going on? As an anarchist, you might not be mainstream.
The EU is a capitalist state, but I mean, we'll have a capitalist state anyway. And I see the Brexit project as a kind of like a neo-fascist project, really. Like Farage had links to the National Front. You know, it's about. It's
not driven by socialists. It's driven by fascists.
There is a Legzit that says like we need a left-wing Brexit, but I think that's kind of like missing the point for me, because ultimately then we're still stuck with a capitalist system in the UK, and also we're losing kind of ideas like how we can kind of organise and stuff around Europe. You know, we're kind of like cutting off our ties of what we could otherwise have to kind of say, well, you know, how do we organise best across Europe?
Yeah.
And okay, it doesn't have to be through the kind of like imperialist project that is the EU, but at the same time, we don't want to isolate ourselves and become more nationalist, because then we're likely to lose those connections we could otherwise have. So I'd say there's no perfect answer, but for me right now, I think like, you know, we're putting ourselves at greater risk of kind of like a right-wing mobilisation through Brexit.
North Korea, the steps he's made with North Korea, and trying to.
Did you hear the news recently? They killed everyone who was on the diplomatic team for North Korea. Kim Jong-un executed them.
Allegedly, yeah.
So, but do you think it's right that he praises a genocidal dictator as a good man while slating his allies like Theresa May, Angela Merkel?
And change them.
So it's worth it for you, like him complimenting a dictator.
People, they're suffering. You know, you're looking at the leaders, but you're not looking at all the millions of people that live under these leaders. They're suffering. They're having to starve. Someone's got to reach out, and he's done a good job. Anyone else, they'd be given a Nobel Peace Prize for what he's done.
Well, you know, people want to look at anarchism. It ultimately means nobody above everybody else. It comes from the Greek, you know, anarchy, nobody above, and ultimately.
And it's not what people think. It's not a bunch of thugs in the street smashing up shops and stuff.
No, I mean those are tactics that some people employ. You know, other people use different tactics.
Like education,
it stands for
example.
A world of equality where everybody, you know, gets the same opportunity in that way, because it's a different system. It's close to utopia. We were aiming at utopia ultimately.
Yeah.
May not get there, but it's better to aim for it and learn from each other as we go.
So what do you think of the Iran stuff? So he's making us closer to war with Iran. He's bringing people who were in the Bush administration who pushed us into war with Iraq.
But one thing I can say is I don't agree with anyone starting wars in the Middle East. You know, don't agree with
and that was part of Trump's appeal on the campaign. But some would say that he's sort of gone back on that now.
Look at Obama and all that, they dropped plenty of bombs.
Yeah, I mean, but Trump did say no more war, and that's why he was appealing. But do you think he's sort of gone back on that by ripping up a peace deal with Iran, hiring people who led the Americans to war with Iraq, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo? Do you think he's going back on his promises, or has he been influenced by people like that too much?
He can do. He's one man. You've got to remember, everyone around him is jostling against him. Like the wall. You know, he's trying to get it through, but people fight against him. He's not in control of everything.
My politics are all over the place, but by and large, I think Trump is doing some good things. I didn't vote for him because it's his personality.
So yeah, what is about Trump? Because so you're American, right? Yeah. So what do you like that Trump's doing?
Well, I'm pro-life, but he's probably paid for a lot of abortions. Probably.
So he's a tool for you to get your political ends. Is that what you're saying?
Probably.
But you see him as a tool to get what you want.
Yeah, and I think he sees the pro-life movement as a tool to get re-elected. So it's like, but I'm still going to vote for a third party.
Do you support the NHS in England?
Commonality.
It's all right, but it's failing. We're under too much pressure.
Would you rather a private healthcare system?
I never thought I'd say this, but it's looking more and more like I would. Because it's failing, and it's costing us too much money.
But in America, 30,000 people die a year because they're not insured.
They do over here too, mate. And we got the NHS. My mum died. She was neglected.
But wouldn't you?
NHS.
But she wouldn't be. She probably wouldn't be helped by a private system because
she weren't helped by the NHS either.
So would you not prefer more money for the NHS, maybe less money for war in England, more money for the NHS?
Like I said, I don't agree with any of these foreign wars. But at the same token, I don't think that's the reason the NHS is failing. You know, you just got to look at your economy.
But we had a Tory government who've consistently cut funding for the NHS for 10 years.
Look at the people that are coming in. It's not substantial. You know, the money it costs and the people that are coming in.
But so we're getting a bigger population, but we're cutting funding for the NHS. Do you not think that it's wrong to do that?
Yeah, because a lot of the funding was going to higher up. A lot of the funding they cut was middle management. There's so much middle management. I mean, there's loads of corruption in the NHS. We know this. I know people, you know, personally. There's a lot of corruption in the NHS.
I'm for a high living wage so people can afford their own health care.
Does Andrew Yang appeal to you? Andrew Yang in America, have you heard of him?
Andrew Young.
So basically he's proposing universal basic income. Everyone gets $1,000 a month. Elon Musk, Richard Nixon actually considered it in the 70s as well.
I'm not for that. What I am for is for people who want to work, give them a high enough living wage. I'm for a minimum wage and a maximum wage. I don't know how much that should be. I'm not putting numbers on it.
Yeah, you're not an economist.
I'm sure it would vary according to region. What's in New York City would be different from Alabama, from Hawaii, from Alaska, from Wyoming, from Missouri. But
so why would you not support a basic income then?
If you don't work, you don't eat.
It needs to be cleaned up. It's not fit for purpose anymore. It was a beautiful idea. Don't get me wrong. I'm really proud of it. It was, you know, it was a great symbol for the world.
And something we could keep.
Huh?
Would you not think it's better to reform something that is so great rather than scrap it?
It could be reformed.
Yeah, because you need like what do we spend in a society? Like what do the Tories love spending on? They privatise everything, love ruining our industries and stuff. So I think a lot of common ground for Trump supporters and people like myself is that we want to help people. We don't want to spend all this money on war. So in my opinion, and I think a lot of people spending, you'd rather cut funding. So what do we need nuclear submarines for now? Like, is anyone going to take us seriously?
I think we should still have them. We need a nuclear deterrent. That's really important.
But okay, let's say we keep that. Let's say we cut the army then instead.
No, just cut the wars in these foreign countries. Pull out of Iraq,
and then we could. Would you agree with then, like Boris Johnson said, 350 million more for the NHS? Is that something you would agree with? Well, he lied, obviously, but is that something you would agree with?
Of course I agree. Yeah. Well, if you could sort it out, but it needs to be overhauled. Chucking money at it is going to do nothing.
Who would you trust to do that?
Well, at the moment, there's not many people I trust in government. You know, I really thought I could trust May. But she turned out to be the biggest traitor I've ever seen, like, right before my eyes. We voted Brexit, and look, 2 years down the line or over, we still haven't got it. Whether people liked it or not, whether these people liked it or not, that's democracy. I would never do what these people are doing.
So does Bernie Sanders appeal to you in that way? Bernie Sanders, he's one of the biggest pushers of $15 minimum living wage for everyone. But
Bernie Sanders is for national health care. I am for completely obliterating. I think the government, I have a very libertarian view in that regard. I am only...
That's what it sounds like.
The government should only, because I'm kind of a mix, the government should only be involved in defending the people, printing money, doing a few very basic things that government originally did in America, but guaranteeing some basic human rights in regards to labor, too.
So Jeremy Corbyn is one of the left-wing politicians who does generally support leaving the EU.
And he's backtracked.
But that's based on his party, because as history tells us, socialists hate the EU because what we see it as. So would you support someone like Corbyn to become Prime Minister if he could follow through and get us out of the EU?
No.
Why not?
He's a socialist.
But what's wrong with being a socialist?
And he doesn't mind being with terrorists.
Like,
look at the pictures of Hamas. You know, their charter is written in their charter is to kill Jews. Written in their charter, it's written down.
Yeah, I've read it.
And he's with these people. He hangs around people like Momentum, Hope Not Hate. I've been close up and personal a lot of these. They are what they call other people fascists. They are true fascists.
Yeah.
They're trying to shut down free speech and stuff like that, you know. I mean, we may not agree, but don't shut down free speech. You've got Antifa and people like that. The left has gone ultra far left, you know.
Would you not say it's a parallel to the right as well, though?
No, this is a lie. I'm on the right. I can tell, you know, I'm part of it. I'm right in the middle of it. And it's not. No, you know, I've not come across racist. None of that. I'm from a mixed race family. My child, I don't even bring it up much because, you know, I don't want to go there. But I'm a mixed race child. When you hear all these racists, they're devaluing the word. You shouldn't do that. They shouldn't do that.
Would you not agree that the British right wing don't care about working class people? Theresa May and the Tories don't care about
the working class.
But wouldn't you say the current Tory government over the last 9 years hasn't really done anything to benefit the working class?
What should they do?
I'm not saying the last Labour government did either.
This is the good thing about capitalism. Capitalism gives you a way out of a hole. Socialism doesn't.
But socialism makes sure the poorest don't fall through the cracks.
Yeah, and it'll rip the money from the richest. That's not fair. Because that's not fair.
But the richest don't.
I come from what you call lower working class.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with none of that. The left don't represent the working class anymore.
Not even people like Corbyn, who've been in bed. But he's been one of the champions of the working class with the old Labour, old socialist Labour.
Look around, yeah. All of these people are middle class.
Yeah.
You've got to admit now.
Yeah.
When you go to a Labour thing, they're all middle class.
In London.
All over.
Not in the north.
I've been to the north. I was up there in Manchester. I've been, I've seen them up close and personal many times.
For what you're talking about, I kind of find it interesting because Trump to me seems like the antithesis of that, because he's so in bed with corporations, and what he's done in the past, scams students out of university, all these scams he's run. I find it hard that, although you're pro-life, why not someone else? Why does it have to be Trump? Why not someone who has stayed out of exploiting people, like workers, for example? Trump is probably one of the biggest, I'd say out of all the presidents, he's probably done that the most, because he's been a businessman, an alleged billionaire. You don't become a billionaire from treating your workers nice.
Yeah, I like a lot of his policy, not all of it.
You wouldn't vote for him? Or would you vote?
I didn't
Okay,
vote for him.
That's the distinction. But you wouldn't vote for him in 2020?
I'm probably more green when it comes to, I voted for a Green Party candidate, for a local candidate.
Yeah, I've done that too.
I'm pretty far left on environmental issues. I don't take the helm for every environmental issue that comes down the pike, but I think for the most part I do sympathize with where they're coming from.
So AOC, Bernie Sanders, biggest pushers for Green New Deal, things like that.
That's not enough to make me vote for that one issue.
Yeah.
I'm for labor. I'm for civil rights. I'm a real mix. I'm an odd mix. I don't follow anybody's prescribed political
agenda and things like that.
Trust me,
But there are lots of Labour people and MPs who voted to leave the European Union because they wanted to help the working class more.
For their own pocket. It's disgusting. It's giving up principles. That's what I'm saying with Corbyn. It disgusts me. You were open, and I remember all the speeches you were talking about. Leave, and all of that. Now look at it. That shows you can't trust the man, and he did it just for the politics of it.
So we can't trust any politicians, do you think? Not even Trump?
No, Trump so far has gone through what he said.
But he's flip-flopping a lot of stuff.
Like what?
So after the mass shooting in Las Vegas, he tried to ban bump stocks. Next day, NRA gave him a call and he didn't ban them.
No, but bump stocks was a way to just keep everyone happy. Because bump stocks mean nothing. You know what a bump stock is?
It can make a semi-auto rifle shoot way quicker.
Yeah, way quicker, but it's
so
no one ever
basically,
used them. It was a way to keep the left happy because they're so vocal.
But he didn't do it.
Huh?
He didn't do it for ages.
No,
he backtracked straight away.
Good. He shouldn't back down. That's the thing. You shouldn't back down. When you back down against the left, they just come in like vultures.
But also, for example, he said Hillary Clinton would bomb Syria. Trump's done it twice now. He said he would never do that.
I don't agree with that.
But would you say? But my point is, would you say no politicians are trustworthy, even Donald Trump? If no. Just like Corbyn, Theresa May, he flip-flops and everything.
On little things like that, like I said, I don't agree with him. But overall, he's done what he said he's going to do. I mean, the wall, you've got to admit, he's tried his hardest to build it. But the Democrats have stopped him at every turn. They said even the funding thing.
But he controlled the Senate and Congress for two years. He controlled both of them, and he couldn't get it done. But the Democrats couldn't have done anything in those 2 years. Only recently they got power.
People in his own party. He had to get a lot of them out. Look how many he's got out. Drain the swamp.
You like Trump, but I think Trump goes against so many of the beliefs you've described. I find it interesting that you still like it. Is it because he's not part of the mainstream political?
He's better than Obama. We just had Obama. Horrible.
What was so bad about Obama specifically, in your opinion?
Just about everything.
But you're so passionate about the environment.
Yeah.
Leaving the Paris Accords.
But he's still
putting fossil fuel lobbyists in charge of the EPA, like Scott Pruitt. People like that. Is that not like so offensive to you? There's no way you could like someone like that.
Oh, I couldn't vote for Obama.
But
no matter what.
But Trump is the one who's is really hurting the environment. He's ramped it up.
But I voted for a third party.
Yeah, but I mean, like you're saying you like Trump. I'm saying I find it hard interesting that you like Trump. You say you like some of his policies.
I like him.
Because, but he's so detrimental to something you're so passionate about because you voted for Green, you say you really care about the environment. But when Trump puts fossil fuel lobbyists in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency, who then allows them to dump more stuff in the rivers, pulls out the Paris Accords, basically gives a green light to the fossil fuel industry to pollute as much as you want, I find it interesting that you yourself like him in any capacity. Because if that was, it were all different, but to me, I'd be like that. Even if I like his stuff on abortion, if I like that, the climate stuff is so offensive to me, I can find other, I just can't like someone like that.
But I'm
Do you know
far
what I
more
mean?
pro-life. I'm far
Then
more pro-life.
you care about the environment.
I'm not a single issue voter.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm more pro-life. The family issues. I'm against gay marriage, and I'm against abortion.
Are you very Christian?
I have friends. I have all kinds of friends from all kinds of walks of life.
So one more question for you, and then I'll leave you alone. So if Trump invades Iran, do you still support him? If he invades Iran and maybe even Britain get involved, would you still support him? And think about everything you're talking about: NHS, destroying the NHS because of maybe refugees. Think of that, but maybe times 10. All the Iranian refugees come to this country, all the terrorism against this country. If Trump does that, but would you stop supporting him, is my point. If he did that and he unleashed all of that, because remember, it's Britain who pays for these American wars. All this terrorism, it's partly our fault, but it's also partly America's fault. They do all this stuff in the Middle East, and then it hurts us. Refugee crisis, why is America taking refugees? They're not taking refugees, we take them. So if Trump, but if Trump did that way worse, would you still support him? That's my last question. If he invaded Iran, massive war, destabilizes the whole world through this, would you still support him?
If he did it for no reason at all, then yeah, I reckon.
You'd be done.
Yeah, but there are a few. I don't think everyone. It's the oil money and stuff. You know, a lot of them and the stuff behind them. But a lot of these people are not refugees that we're taking in. They're economic migrants.
Yeah, but even if that is true, you can't deny that a massive war like that would create so many refugees who would all come to Europe and including the UK.
I don't agree with one bit. We shouldn't go to these countries, leave them to themselves.
Yeah.
Let them do what they're doing, let them sort themselves out. We have no right poking our noses.
I mean, I used to see it doesn't mean
Just hope, for America's sake, for our sake, that we all come to our senses and that we don't let demagogues lead the people by the nose, persuade us to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
With Britain, the wrong thing would be Brexit. With America, the wrong thing would be voting Trump again.
I mean, I used to see it doesn't mean